Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another meal prep video. I'm super excited to share today's meal prep with you because not only am I sharing 5 meal prep recipes that you are going to want to make ASAP, I'm also sharing a grocery haul. All of these recipes are healthy. Some of them are vegan, some of them are gluten-free, some of them are keto. Today I'm going to be sharing a recipe for a cold peanut noodle salad. Now this recipe in and of itself is vegan and gluten-free, but you could also add protein to it if you wanted to. You could add chicken or shrimp or salmon. This is a delicious salad that is great stored in the fridge, and you can take it to work throughout the week or eat it as you want. It meal preps great and it tastes delicious. I'm also going to be sharing a recipe for strawberry oat bars, and this is from Eating Well magazine. I've had this recipe saved for a while and I've wanted to try it out. My kids love strawberries. Strawberries are in season right now, and I also have some strawberry jam that I'd like to use with this recipe, and so I'm super excited to try this out. I'm also going to be sharing a recipe for keto chocolate chip cookies. I've shared this recipe on my channel before, but it's been a while. This is the best recipe that I've found for low carb or keto chocolate chip cookies, and I make them every once in a while. My family eats them without any complaint. I don't even tell my kids that they're low sugar, and they gobble them right down just like regular chocolate chip cookies. Today I'm also going to be making some homemade falafel. I'm very excited for this. If you've never tried to make homemade falafel before, it's delicious. I love having it in a pita with some tzatziki sauce and cucumber and tomatoes and onion. You can also eat it on top of a salad, and this recipe in and of itself is vegan as well. And last but not least, I'm going to be sharing a meal prep idea for a kale chicken salad. The chicken is going to be marinated in a low carb honey mustard vinaigrette, and we're going to put lots of yummy toppings with the salad to give you some options to have a healthy lunch throughout the week. So let me share some of the items that I picked up for my meal prep today. I want to thank Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video. If you're not familiar with Thrive Market, they are an online marketplace where you can get tons of items, not only groceries, but you can get home care and beauty items. I personally have been a member of Thrive Market probably about 3 years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago. When I was doing keto more regularly, it was a great way for me to be able to pick up products at a cheaper price that I wasn't able to get at my local grocery store. So one of the best things about Thrive Market is that you can get products for 25 to 50% off of the normal grocery store price. They have a ton of items on their website, and you can filter the website by your dietary preferences. So let's say you're vegan or paleo or keto, you can filter ingredients by that particular dietary need. So it's super easy to find the products that you need. So not only can you get food on Thrive Market's website, but you can also get vitamins and snacks, supplements. You can get personal care products. If you are into eco-friendly cleaning products, they have many of those as well. If you are also someone who non-GMO and organic foods are important to you, their website contains a ton of products that are in line with that. So with Thrive Market, there is a $60 annual membership fee. I do want to mention that, but I really like their company because they are socially responsible. So for every membership that you purchase, they actually donate a membership to a veteran or a low-income family, which I think is awesome. You can also get free shipping on any order that's over $49. And so honestly, when you think about the shipping costs, the membership pays for itself, especially when you're getting 25 to 50% off all of these specialty foods. Okay, so the first things I'm going to share with you are some baking items. So here is a bag of almond flour that I grabbed. This is a 1 pound bag of almond flour, and this was a really reasonable price. It was $7.99 for organic almond flour, and I have to say that that is much cheaper than I can get it at my regular grocery store. I also picked up a package of rolled oats. This is the Bob's Red Mill brand. I'm going to use these to make my strawberry oat bars, and I also love to keep oatmeal on hand to make homemade granola. It's delicious, one of my favorite breakfasts. I also grabbed some pure vanilla extract. This was also a really good price. It was $11.99 for this bottle, which is a pretty decent size. I have a hard time finding pure vanilla extract around here, and when I do find it, it is insanely expensive, so I'm super glad that I can get this on Thrive Market for a decent price. I use vanilla a lot. I tend to bake a lot. I try to bake most of our snacks and desserts rather than buying them pre-packaged, and so this is definitely a staple in my pantry. I also picked up some coconut oil. This is something that I also like to keep in my pantry. I don't use it super frequently, but when I need it for a specific recipe, it's really nice to have it on hand, so I got this. I'm actually also going to use this in the strawberry oat bars as well in place of butter. And then they had the Lily's chocolate chips on sale for $6.99 a bag. They came in a 3-pack. This is a great price. I cannot get these Lily's chocolate chips in my grocery store for less than $9 a bag. So to get them for that price was great. I like to use these to make low carb chocolate chip cookies, and then they're also really good if you melt them. You can make like homemade peanut butter cups, low sugar peanut butter cups, or chocolate covered nuts or something like that. Really, really good. I also picked up a box of this chickpea spaghetti. I'm actually going to use this for the cold peanut noodle salad, but if you're gluten-free, this is a great substitute for regular spaghetti. I haven't obviously ordered from Thrive in a while, and so I was really impressed by their spices that were available. I ended up getting a bag of cinnamon. I always like to keep cinnamon on hand for baking. I was also running low on bay leaves, and so I grabbed a bag of those. I will actually keep these in a mason jar in my cabinet. I think it's really great actually, especially if you are someone who is concerned about packaging waste. Buying something like this and storing it in your own mason jar and then recycling the package is a great way to cut down on waste. And then I also picked up some peppercorns. This is something I always keep on hand. I use fresh ground pepper in almost every recipe that I cook, and something like this is something that I run out of without thinking of it, because I have to fill my pepper grinder up semi-infrequently, and so I always like to keep a backup of these in my spice cabinet. So this is the dressing that I picked up. It is a honey mustard dressing and marinade. This is very low carb, low sugar. One serving is only 2 grams of carbs for a honey mustard dressing. You can see that some is missing because I actually already started marinating my chicken with it, but I'm excited to give this a try with that salad and as a marinade. I also picked up a jar of capers. This is another pantry staple for me. I love chicken piccata, and capers are definitely a main ingredient in that, so I always like to keep a jar of these in the pantry as well. Coconut aminos is another thing that's honestly hard for me to find in my town. I believe at times I can get it at my regular grocery store, but it's pretty hit and miss, and when I find it there, it's over $10 a bottle. So I was super excited to find this on Thrive's website. It was only $5.79 for this bottle, so I'm very excited about this. This is gonna go in my cold peanut noodle salad. So Thrive has a great assortment of nut butters, and I like that they come in these pouches so that they're easy to knead before you put it into your recipe. This is actually some tahini. Tahini is also something that I love to keep on hand. If you guys have watched my meal prep videos before, you know that I love to make homemade hummus. Obviously, tahini is a star ingredient in homemade hummus, and then the recipe that I'm using for falafel also calls for this as well. They have an assortment of nut butters that come in these pouches, so make sure you check that out if you're looking for anything like that. I picked up a couple different jars of marinara sauce. This is the Rouse, I'm sorry, I think it's Rouse homemade marinara sauce. So this is a really high quality, great marinara sauce that tastes awesome. You guys know that I a lot of times will make my own marinara, but right now I'm out, and so I love to keep this in the pantry. And then I also decided to try the Thrive Market organic tomato basil sauce as well. So I won't be using these today in my meal prep, but I'll definitely be using them in either some homemade pizza or pasta dishes in the next couple weeks. So I was also really impressed with the selection of drinks that they had, and they had some different coffees that I thought I would try. You guys know I'm a self-professed kind of coffee snob. I don't like to say I'm a snob because I think that's a negative connotation, but I love good quality dark coffee. And you can see actually that I already opened this. I had a cup of it the other night and it was delicious. This is the Thrive Market organic coffee, the breakfast blend. It's from Peru and it's medium roast. I would totally recommend this. I love a good quality coffee. I do have a grinder, and so I have ground obviously coffee beans before, but I prefer to buy it ground just because it's so much more convenient for me. But this will actually be going in my jar over there on the counter by my coffee maker. And then when I make pots of coffee, this is what we'll be using in the next month. Okay, so I did mention that they have quite a large assortment of nut butters on their site, and this is one that I wanted to try. It's the Nutso multi-nut and seed butter. I've actually opened this and tasted a spoonful of it, and it's delicious. It's not just peanut butter, it's peanuts, cashews, almonds, Brazil nuts, flax seeds, sunflower seeds, hazelnuts, and sea salt. It is delicious. I have never tasted a peanut butter that has such an intense peanut flavor that this does, and so I'm excited to try this out in some different recipes. I'm actually going to be using it in the cold noodle salad that I'm making today. Applesauce is another staple in my house. My kids love to eat it as a side, and I also frequently use it in baked goods when I'm substituting for oil. So this is just a non-GMO organic applesauce. Nothing fancy here, but I did pick this up for baking. Next is some strawberry fruit spread. I'm actually excited to use this in my strawberry oat bar recipe that I'm making it today. I also love strawberry jelly. It's like my favorite flavor. Connor's favorite flavor is grape, but mine and Kira's is definitely strawberry. Okay, next up, I did grab a bag of brown rice. This is actually sprouted brown rice, which I'm excited to try. I've never tried it before. We actually prefer brown rice to white rice, and so typically when I'm buying rice in bulk, that's what I like to buy, and then I just transfer this to a mason jar and keep it in my pantry, and then we can use it for a side dish. A lot of times when I make plain rice, it will be with some type of an Asian meal. So like maybe I'll make like an orange chicken or beef stir fry or something like this, and then this is what we have on the side. I'll steam it up with a little bit of butter and the kids love it. And last but not least are these Smart Sweets gummies. I was so excited to see these on their site because I've been wanting to try these, and I've tried to get them at different like health food stores around here and my grocery store, and I can never find them. And so I was very excited to try these. You can see that I ordered 4 different kinds. So I ended up getting the regular gummy bears. I grabbed the peach rings, which by the way, these are amazing. They are all low sugar. They have no sugar alcohols in them, so they won't have the unpleasant side effects that some sugar-free candy does, if you know what I mean. I also got the sweet fish and the Sour Blast Buddies, which I believe are a play on Sour Patch Kids. So the ones we've tried so far are these and the peach rings. I would say so far the peach rings are my absolute favorite, but if you guys are doing keto or low carb, or even if you're just trying to watch your calories, these are fabulous. They have them on Thrive Market for $2.99 and they come in a 2-pack. So get on there and order all of them, especially if you're watching your sugar, you will not regret it. Okay, so now that I've showed you what the ingredients are that I've picked up for today's meal prep, before we get into the meal prep, I just wanna share how you can try out Thrive Market for yourself if you're interested. Be sure to check out the link in my description box below. What you'll do is you'll create an account. You can enter your email address and make a password. They also offer what I think is super fun. It's a quiz that you take that basically walks you through kind of like what your dietary preferences are, and then they'll recommend products to you, which I think is super fun. There are 2 different membership options. So there's a month-to-month option and an annual option. The annual option is $60 a year, like I mentioned before. So that's really the greatest value. It only comes out to $5 a month. That's what I have, and that's what I've had in the past when I've been a Thrive Market member. If you do want to go month to month, you can do that. It's $9.95 a month, but it just comes down to your preferences and the type of membership that you want. I just want to also mention that even if you want to try this out, it's totally risk-free. If you decide that you don't like it in your initial 30-day period, you can email them for a full refund. But like I said, if any of these products interest you, I would totally encourage you to give it a try. I think that mail order companies, especially that deliver like groceries or cleaning products or anything like that, if you would have asked me, you know, 10 years ago if I would have been interested in this kind of stuff, I would have been like, really? No, I'm just gonna go to the store myself. But honestly, this is sort of like the way of the future, right? It saves me so much time as a working person, and I've talked about different mail order companies that I've used before. And so I would totally encourage you to give it a try if you're interested in any of these products. Now let's get on to the meal prep. All right, so we are going to start out with some homemade falafel. If you guys have never tried falafel before, they are basically like little fritters or balls of ground chickpeas, and they have lots of herbs in them and lemon juice and garlic. They are delicious. So what you'll need for this recipe is a pound of dried chickpeas or garbanzo beans. And I'm doing a quick soak method with these because I totally forgot to soak them overnight. So basically what you do is bring these to a boil, let them boil for 2 minutes, and then let them sit in the hot water for 60 minutes. And this would be the equivalent to soaking these either overnight or for 24 hours. So next I'm going to wash up my herbs. So for this recipe, I'm using fresh parsley and fresh cilantro. You want to make sure that you don't leave these out. Do not try to substitute with dried herbs. The fresh herbs is what really gives this recipe a really great flavor. So you saw me there just washing my herbs in my OXO salad spinner. I use that to wash all of my produce. If you guys are new to my channel, you may not know that I am an evangelist for washing produce and using my salad spinner. Next, I'm going to move to the onion and garlic for this recipe. So you're going to grind this up in a food processor, but you still want to cut up the onion just a little bit just to make sure that it all gets combined evenly with the ground chickpeas. So in my food processor here, I have my chickpeas, my onion, and garlic. I'm going to put the lid on that and just pulse that until it all becomes kind of like coarse crumbs. You want everything to be processed, but you don't want it to be a paste. So traditionally falafel is deep fried, but we're actually going to be air frying these falafel, so it will be just a little bit healthier. Next, I'm going to get my fresh herbs chopped up. So you'll need half a bunch of fresh parsley chopped and a quarter of a bunch of fresh cilantro chopped, and then just add those into the food processor with the chickpeas and the onion and garlic. You'll also need the juice of 1 lemon, some salt, 1 tablespoon of cumin, a quarter of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and then black pepper to taste. You can also taste the mixture after it's all combined to see if you think it needs any additional seasoning. So I just wanted to mention also that any recipes that I use in this video will be linked down below in case you'd like to make them. This particular recipe makes quite a bit, so I think if I make this again, I'll actually probably cut it in half. I think I got about 30 balls of falafel, maybe 40, somewhere in between there. But I actually had to process it in batches because it wouldn't all fit in my food processor, and I have one of the larger 14-cup food processors, so just keep that in mind if you're planning on making it. Once the mixture is fully processed, you'll see that it looks bright green like this from the herbs. I'm adding some of that garbanzo bean flour and tahini paste that I got from Thrive Market. And then I'm just using kind of a blue rubber fork. That's my new favorite kitchen tool to stir that up until everything is well combined. I also wanted to mention that any kitchen tools or supplies that I use in this recipe, I always try to leave links to all of those down below in case you guys have questions on them. So I just have a plate here and I am rolling these into balls and then flattening them slightly. So what I'm doing is I'm going to cook some of them in the air fryer for my meal prep for lunches that week. Go ahead and spray these with a little bit of cooking spray before you put them in the air fryer. That helps them just be a little bit crispier on the outside. I cooked these at 350 degrees for I think about 20 minutes, and then I flipped them over halfway through. I want to say they did not take the whole 20 minutes. I think they only took about 18 minutes. I decided to go ahead and freeze the other ones before cooking them. That way, when I want to use these later for a meal, I can take them out, defrost them, and then I can either fry them up or fry them in the air fryer. And you can see that I'm just using a piece of wax paper in between those to make sure that they don't stick together in the freezer. One tip that I definitely want to share with you is make sure that you always label your containers or your bags that you're putting in the freezer. I think one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves is that A, we'll remember what's in the bag, and B, we'll remember when we put it in the freezer, and I never remember either one. So here are what the falafel look like when they come out of the air fryer. These are so delicious. If you've never made homemade falafel before and you like this type of food, I would definitely recommend it. It tastes so much better than like the pre-prepared kind you can get or the frozen kind. Here is how I am meal prepping it with some tzatziki sauce from Trader Joe's and some veggies. When you reheat these, make sure that you wrap them up in a damp paper towel before you heat them up in the microwave. Okay, so the next recipe I'm sharing with you is this really delicious recipe for strawberry oat bars. And this was inspired by some fresh strawberries that I had gotten at the farmer's market, along with that strawberry jam that I picked up from Thrive. This particular recipe is really neat because the crust also doubles as a topping for these bars. So what I'm doing now is just mixing up all of the ingredients for the crust. I'm using 1 1/3 cups of the rolled oats that I picked up from Thrive, along with 1/2 cup of light brown sugar. The recipe calls for 6 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and 6 tablespoons of whole wheat flour. I think you could use any combination of either one depending on what you have on hand. I also put in 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. The original recipe called for melted butter, but instead I used melted coconut oil that I got from Thrive also, and it was delicious. I think you could definitely use either, but the coconut oil does give it that nice coconut flavor. So I have an 8-inch square Pyrex glass dish here that I'm using to bake my bars in. I line that with some parchment paper. You want to make sure that you do that because otherwise you'll have a really hard time getting these out of the pan. I took 2 cups of the crust mixture and patted that into the bottom of the pan, and I'll bake this in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes. While that's baking, you can go ahead and mix up the filling. So for the filling for the strawberries, or for the filling for the bars rather, you'll need 1 1/3 cups of finely chopped fresh strawberries. And yes, I am sitting down at the counter chopping my strawberries. On the day that I was doing this meal prep, I felt like I was in the kitchen a lot that day, and so I needed to sit down for a little bit and chop up my strawberries. But anyway, these are the tiny little sweet delicious strawberries that I got from the farmer's market. I'm so glad I decided to use them in this. They were so good. So I'm adding some cornstarch and some sugar to those strawberries, along with 3 tablespoons of that strawberry jam from Thrive Market, and that's it. So I just stirred this up with a fork, and then when the crust comes out of the oven, I will top it with the fruit filling. So with the remaining crust mixture, you'll just take a measuring cup and sprinkle it over the top of the bars. I did sort of spread it out with my fingertips and pack it down just a little bit and pop that back in the oven. You can see that I'm cutting these up here, and we've already ate about a third of them out of the pan. You want to make sure that you cool them completely before you try to cut them. These are so delicious. I can't really decide if they are a dessert or a breakfast item, but either way, they are super tasty, and they are a little bit lower in calories and fat. I think I mentioned before that this original recipe comes out of the Eating Well magazine. So if you like strawberries, I would definitely recommend that recipe. Okay, so the next meal prep I'm going to share with you is a chicken kale salad, and I am marinating my chicken using this honey mustard dressing from Thrive. You can see the nutrition information here. It's very low in carbs, and it's really delicious. I know sometimes in the past when I've done low carb and keto diets, some of that dressing, that honey mustard dressing flavor is something that I really miss. And so if you are following a keto or low carb diet or just trying to watch your sugar, I can definitely recommend this dressing. So I'm not only going to use this dressing to marinate my chicken, I'm also going to use it as a topping on the salad. So I just have 2 chicken breasts there, and I poked holes in these with a fork just to let the marinade get into the meat a little bit better. I covered them with dressing, and then I marinated those for about 3 hours in the refrigerator. You could probably do it up to a day if you wanted to. I'm putting these chicken breasts on a foil-lined baking sheet, and my favorite way to cook these is at 450 degrees for 20 minutes. They turn out perfect and juicy every time. I just put them on a plate to let them cool before I assembled my salad. Chicken is something that is definitely super easy to prep during the weekend for the upcoming work week. You can use it in so many different ways. You can make salads out of it. You could also make wraps, or you could also use it in like a mayo-based type chicken salad. In fact, last night I actually had 3 chicken breasts that I had prepped in the refrigerator, and I made chicken Alfredo out of them for dinner. So definitely a great meal prep item to have around to either make lunches or dinners. So I'm prepping my salad here, and I just have my OXO salad container. I know I've talked about this before, but it's one of my favorites for taking salad on the go. And this is some kale that I had gotten from the farmer's market as well. It was really good. I washed this up the weekend previously and just put it in a bag with a paper towel in the refrigerator, and that will keep really well for a long time. Next, I'll lay my chicken on top of the salad, and then you can pretty much add any toppings that you want on this. I think that prepping salads is a great way to use up any bits of meat and cheese or veggies that you kind of have laying around in your refrigerator and to not waste them. I found a package of sharp white cheddar cheese in my drawer in the fridge, and so I decided to go ahead and just cut that up. I cubed it up into small pieces, and then I'm going to use that as a cheese on my salad. It actually worked really well. Kind of the sharpness of the cheese contrasted with the sweet, tangy dressing. If you've never tried adding fresh chopped herbs to your salad, I would also recommend that too. It just gives it a really fresh flavor. Here I'm using some parsley and some chives. I also am chopping up some cherry tomatoes, and then next I'll be adding some cucumber and some pepper. If you wanted to, you could also add like a chopped hard-boiled egg to this. I think that would be really good. If you have mushrooms in your fridge and you like mushrooms, that would be good to add. Really, this is just sort of a method of prepping salad that I want to kind of share with you. When I have things like this in my fridge, regardless of whether I'm going to work or working from home, or even if I'm just having a busy day at home, it's very helpful for me because I'm less likely to reach for a box of mac and cheese or order pizza or something like that. So to keep this recipe a little bit lower carb, instead of croutons, I'm going to use sunflower seeds that is one of my favorite salad toppings. And then I'm also using some of that Thrive honey mustard dressing for the topping as well. This salad bowl set does come with a reusable dressing cup, so that's really nice. So here's a look at how this salad turned out. Look how delicious and colorful that looks. This was a real winner. I loved the combination of that dressing with all of the veggies and the cheese and the chicken and the sunflower seeds. This was definitely a winner in my book. I will be making something like this again. And if you guys want to try out this salad container, I'll also have it linked down below. I'm a big fan of it. It's leak proof and I use it all the time. So the next recipe that I'm sharing with you is a really good recipe for low sugar keto chocolate chip cookies. So for this recipe, I'll need some vanilla extract, butter, baking powder, some almond flour. You'll need a sugar substitute. I am using Swerve. You'll need 1 egg, some dark chocolate baking chips. Those are the Lily's chips that I shared earlier, as well as some xanthan gum and some salt. I believe all of these specialty products are available through Thrive. So if you're looking for products like this, that's definitely a great source. I'm going to start out by creaming together my sugar substitute with the butter. What's great about this erythritol sugar substitute is that it acts basically like real sugar. So the method for these cookies is not really that much different than a regular cookie recipe would be. So I am creaming together the softened butter with the sugar substitute. Next, I'm going to add vanilla and egg, and I'll mix that up until everything is combined, and then I'll add the dry ingredients. So after your cookie dough is combined, you're just going to add 3/4 of a cup of chocolate chips. You could use any flavors of the Lily's chocolate chips. I think they have several different kinds, milk chocolate, dark chocolate, and semi-sweet. And that is it. You could probably add nuts to this too if you wanted to. I've never tried it, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. I love using my KitchenAid mixer to make any type of cookies or cakes, so that's what I used for these. And then next, I'm just scooping these onto a baking tray that I've lined with a silicone liner, and that's it. You just bake them like regular chocolate chip cookies. This is the recipe I've found that has the closest like texture and taste to a regular chocolate chip cookie, even though you're only using almond flour in this recipe. I will type this recipe out in the description box below. I don't have a link to it because I actually got this recipe printed out and given to me at a keto cooking class that I went to at my local grocery store a couple years ago, which was actually really fun. If you ever get the chance to attend cooking classes in your area, I would totally recommend that. I've done it quite a few times around here, and it's always a fun time. So here's what the cookies look like when they come out of the oven. You can tell that they spread out a little bit, but not so much that they stuck together on the sheet or anything. You do want to let these cool on the baking tray for a little bit before you try to remove them onto a wire rack to cool. They will tear easily since they don't have any of that traditional gluten in them. Once they were cool, I went ahead and just put them into a clear container, and I just leave these out on the counter. My kids can have them for dessert after dinner if they want. Like I said, I don't even tell them that they're low sugar. I just tell them that they're chocolate chip cookies, and they don't complain at all. They've never once said, "What's wrong with these cookies?" Honestly, they're really good. I would definitely recommend them. Okay, so last recipe I'm going to share is a recipe for cold peanut noodle salad. I have made this before on a cooking video a long time ago, but I haven't made it recently, and so I thought it would be a good one to share. I'm starting out by putting some of those chickpea spaghetti noodles into a pot of boiling water, and I'm also going to add some olive oil per the package directions, along with some salt so that they don't stick together. And yes, I know that my noodles are sticking out of the pot, but once they soften, you'll be able to push them down in a little bit. I personally don't like breaking spaghetti noodles in half because I feel like that makes it harder to wrap around your fork, but that's just me. So once these are done cooking, I went ahead and rinsed them and soaked them in some cold water just to stop the cooking process and make sure that they don't stick together. Next, I'm going to work on the dressing for the peanut noodles. So for this, you'll need some peanut butter. I'm using that multi-nut butter that I got from Thrive Market, super delicious. Also the juice of 1 lime. I always keep fresh citrus fruits in my house to be able to have fresh lime and lemon juice, and it definitely makes a difference in your recipes. I also added 1 tablespoon of brown sugar along with a clove of minced garlic. I always like to use a garlic press. It makes it so much easier than mincing the garlic. You could also use garlic paste if you wanted to. And then I'm using 2 teaspoons of the coconut aminos. The original recipe called for soy sauce, but I actually think I like coconut aminos better than soy sauce. Let me know if that's your preference as well. And then lastly, I added some fresh ginger. I'm using a microplane grater to grate that into my bowl, and some olive oil. You could use any type of oil. Just make sure that you have a neutral tasting oil. So like olive oil, canola oil, avocado oil, anything like that would work. And then that's it. Just go ahead and whisk this up and add your noodles and your veggies. You can taste it before you add the noodles just to make sure that it doesn't need extra salt or anything like that. So I added my drained noodles, and I'm just using some tongs to toss those around evenly in the dressing. Okay, so for the veggies for this recipe, you could use any type of veggies that you wanted, but the recipe calls for shredded carrots, cilantro, and green onions and red cabbage. I've also made this recipe before where I've added red pepper. You could add cucumber. You do want to be careful with cucumber. Maybe take the seeds out before adding it. Otherwise, it could make your dish really watery. But I went ahead and stuck with the recipe for this particular time, and it turned out really delicious. If you guys have never had cold peanut noodles before and you like Asian dishes, you'll definitely like this. I love making it for meal prep. It holds up great in the refrigerator. You can, portion it out into containers and take it with you. You can also take this to like a potluck as a side dish, or any, summer party that you have coming up. I think it would be really good, and it goes over really well. I also forgot to mention the green onions in the recipe, which you saw me chopping up there too. Lastly, I'm just getting my red cabbage chopped. I'm not a huge fan of cabbage, honestly, but I do like to use it in dishes like this just because I think that it gives the salad a really nice crunch. So once everything's together in the bowl, you can mix it up with some tongs, just making sure that you get that dressing distributed evenly throughout. The recipe also calls for chopped peanuts, but I typically don't add those until the end when I'm serving it, because if you mix them in, they will get soggy. So here's what the finished dish looks like. This was totally delicious. I would recommend making it if you haven't tried anything like this. I think that you'll really like it. It's a really nice, healthy, refreshing dish for the spring and summertime. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. I just wanted to mention once again, if you guys are interested in trying out any of these products or any of the others on Thrive Market's website, I'll have a link in the description box below where you can go and sign up, take your quiz, find out what ingredients are suited best to you, and get started. They really pack everything up nicely, and I have no complaints. So today I just want to mention the recipes we made: falafel, peanut noodle salad, some strawberry oat bars, the keto or low carb chocolate chip cookies, and a chicken kale salad. And then I also picked up I picked up a couple different jars of marinara sauce. All right, you guys, thanks so much as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in more meal prep, I'll have a few videos linked here on the right that you might enjoy. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.